You know what time it is? It is Thursday, NBA picks and props time. We are we're almost there, close to the NBA Finals. One of the two teams have already punched their ticket to the NBA Finals. Another team still yet to be determined. We have all that to get into tonight. So let me bring in my guys with me. I'm Dexter Henry, host of Picks and Props. First, we got my man Brian Fonseca out here in these streets promoting his new book, Cadago Heights. And at the same time, somewhat his man's Patrick Beverley not acting like he's supposed to. Defend your man, Brian. Defend him.
I won't, but I will say this. Frank Kaminsky shares a lot of the blame here as well because he just looked at that shit and did nothing. Yeah, he was standing right there. His team captain gets shoved from behind, and he just kind of looks down and then looks at Patrick Beverley and just kind of half-ass or quarter-ass shoved him, as I said in our group chat. So I partially blame Frank Kaminsky for not stepping in there because he's the only one that was face-to-face with Patrick Beverley before that.
I mean, I feel like Patrick Beverley did it to himself, and Frank Kaminsky knew that, and that's all it is. All right.
No, you got to stick up for your guy, man. You got to stick up for your teammate, your team captain. If somebody's going to shove Dexter from behind, I'm going to make sure that either that doesn't happen or that the other person pays for it. You know what I'm saying? Like, you got to be the enforcer there, especially when you're a 7-foot-tall white dude who's not really playing that much.
Might be fair to ask what else is your purpose. Also, joining us on the show, my man Jamal Murphy. Murph, a lot of legal problems for a lot of people everywhere this week, as we have seen. Care to chime in on that?
No, I'm gonna leave all that alone. I'm gonna leave that alone, especially one guy in particular. But
yes.
No, but to what Brian was saying, it seems like a lot of people don't like Chris Paul, though. You know what I'm saying? Like a lot of people just don't like that dude. What's up with that?
I don't know.
And I was surprised, not just Kaminsky, but like no one really went hard at Beverly after that. You know,
Jay Crowder gave him a run.
Pat, what are you doing, Pat? That's it.
I guess. I mean, Pat was wilding out there. I think he was a herb.
No, he was wilding out, but I'm like,
yeah.
But nobody went at him. Yeah.
Jay Crowder was the one who got the closest.
But
I believe Jay Crowder. So,
but he was tame too. He was just like walking over there, like, "Hey, what's going on? What happened?"
It wasn't as tame as Frank Kaminsky. I'd say that.
Fair enough. Fair enough. We can go with that. Speaking of not being tame, and you usually don't associate it with this guy, but Gerard Hector. Gerard, we know that you're not tame if somebody comes out here and says my beautiful dark twisted fantasy isn't really that great.
They're gonna get all the smoke if you start with that. All the smoke coming your way. I'm emptying the clip if anybody starts with that nonsense. Look, first of all, Pat Bev, that was a weak ass move. Like, I'm sorry, bro. You talk shit all game, and then when you getting your ass busted, now you want to push from behind. Yo, that's weak to me. Like, if you gonna dish that joint out, you got to be able to take it. That's number one. Number two, to Murph's point about you, Heapo not like Chris Paul. Listen, we all know, we cover the league, we talk to Heapo. Chris is universally respected by his peers, right? Like that we know, like, unassailably. But yo, Chris is that dude that if he's on your team, like, he is the little boss, right? The little chief, and he's constantly telling you what to do 24/7. And that shit gets annoying, right? Like, it's like, all right, dog, like, chill. I know what I'm supposed to do. And when you're his opponent, you know, Chris is I'm looking for every possible edge to get over on you. Yo, ref, his shirt's not tucked in. Like, all that shit gets annoying, right? So that's the part about it that I think people feel like, man, why you got to be like that, right? Like, but that's Chris Paul. That's who he is.
Hey,
shouts to the point guard.
Chris Paul is now going to the NBA Finals. So, you know, what can you say about that?
He's the point guard, man. Let's
Pat Beverley is saying 1, 2, 3 Cabo again. Whatever it is, whatever he's want to say. All right, enough of the beef and the high energy. I'll at least say Brian stepped up better than Frank Kaminsky here. We can at least agree on that. Brian was like, "I got your back." I can't trust Frank Kaminsky to have my back. That might not happen. That might not happen at all. All right, guys, a lot to get into tonight. Obviously, an important Game 5 between the Bucks and the Hawks, but this game, a lot of it, we don't know what's up in the air because of injuries. Giannis Antetokounmpo ruled out of this contest. Trae Young, at the moment, still questionable. Clint Capella will play after being poked in the eye in Game 4. Let's look at this matchup, guys. Bucks coming back home for Game 5, did not look impressive in Game 4. Game they probably should have won with Trae Young not playing at all whatsoever, but they are favored by 2 at home. The over-under for this contest is 215. Murph, I'm going to start with you. I have not been, I'll say, enamored with the Bucks offense. Do you trust the Bucks to come through tonight, or do you trust Atlanta more, even without Trae Young, to get the big upset on the road?
Trust in the Bucks, not too I ever use in the same sentence, maybe not the same paragraph. No, I don't trust the Bucks at all. I mean, I think Middleton might be due because he plays well every other game, so I think he's probably due tonight to have a pretty good game. Drop 30 points. They're going to need it without Giannis for sure. Drew Holiday, you can't trust him. I mean, how many? He usually shows up once every 5 games or so. So I don't know. Completely show up. I mean, he'll play defense. He might have some assists, but in terms of like actually being able to count on him to hit a big shot or something like that, that's about every 4 or 5 games. So I don't know which game, how long ago it's been since that. I'd have to check that. So no, I don't trust Milwaukee. I think if Trae plays, you got to go Atlanta here. If he doesn't, I would go Bucks. Just because I don't think Atlanta has back-to-back games without Trae where everybody plays the perfect game and gives all that kind of energy. So I don't trust either team here unless Trae plays. Then I trust Atlanta to squeak one out at Milwaukee.
All right, going with Atlanta. If Trae plays, Trae Young will be a game-time decision here. So we'll see. We possibly could know this within the next hour or so, if not later, whether or not Trae Young will play. That'll obviously affect the line, over, under, everything in this game. Brian, how are you feeling? I'm leaving Gerard for last because I know how Gerard feels about the Bucks offense. Like me, he's pretty disgusted. But how are you feeling about this matchup? Who are you putting your money on?
I mean, I'm not exactly having fun watching the Milwaukee Bucks play offense either, right? Like, I'm with Murph. If it's really simple to me, if Trae Young is in, then I'll roll with Atlanta. If he's not, then I don't think Atlanta's going to have back-to-back 2 straight great games without Trae Young. Therefore, I would lean toward the Milwaukee Bucks. It's probably a stay away for me, though, because I don't trust not one of these motherfuckers. I don't at all. Like Chris Middleton, who I like probably more than other people do, or the average NBA consumer does. Admittedly, not great in the playoffs, or in terms of like not very consistent in the playoffs. I was going through some numbers not that long ago prior to this series beginning. He was something like about 40% career shooter from in the playoffs, 41% from 3 also was like 39-40%, which I found interesting. But save for like one series against the Celtics where they got eliminated in the first round, this was the non-Kyrie series where the Celtics actually got to the Eastern Conference Finals and pushed the Cavs. Chris Middleton was very good in that first round series, but outside of that, it's a lot of roller coaster playoff stuff. He was actually their best player last year against the Heat in that series, but the series before that against Orlando wasn't really great. So I do think he'll show up. I think he'll have a big game, but they're not going to have Giannis, so Milwaukee's going to need a lot more than just Chris Middleton to step up. We'll see. I don't know.
You don't know. Seems like a lot of confused people for this game. This is not exactly giving the viewers hope in terms of betting. Now, maybe you should stay away from this
Bet
game.
on some WNBA games instead. I can help you out there.
Hey, you might feel better putting your money on that. Gerard, what about you? I know how you feel about the Bucks offense. Nobody is in on the Bucks offense, and you think it probably got worse without Giannis being here. That being said, are you going to put your money on the Bucks?
Man, hell no. Look, the confounding thing about Milwaukee is, and we can all see this, for stretches against every team in the playoffs, you're like, yo, if they just do this, they're the best team that's left, right? But for whatever reason, inexplicably, they go away from it. And it's not all because, the other team's doing something defensively. Nah, they just inexplicably do something different. Drew Holiday is like, I'm going to go step back threes from now on. It's like, no, bro, that ain't you. You're not that dude. And, this is something Murph says, because we always talk about how Drew Holiday's underrated and Chris Middleton's underrated. And Murph's thing is always like, look, man, There's a reason those guys aren't superstars for a reason, right? Because they're not consistent. Yeah, they may give you a hot game here and there, but they ain't LeBron, they ain't Steph, they ain't KD, they ain't every night. You know what you're getting from them dudes. These guys, I will say this. Tonight, you get to see what a Chris Middleton-led offense looks like when he's the number one option. All right, so we'll see. We'll see what that looks like tonight, because, in many people's minds, because of his ability to create his own shot, he is the Bucks' better player, at least closer in that regard as a team versus Giannis. So we'll see. But as Brian said, they're going to need more than even if Chris has 30 and he's efficient. What's Bobby Portis doing? What's Brook Lopez doing? What's Drew Holiday doing? What's Bryn Forbes doing?
Yeah.
Like what are all these dudes doing? And look, you say those names, and is anybody getting excited about any of those dudes I just mentioned?
Well, I am about Bobby Portis.
Yeah, because Bobby was going to fight somebody. Because Bobby going to fight somebody. That's why.
But here's the thing. Like, if I'm being totally transparent about where my rooting interest lies, it's Milwaukee all day. Because what the world needs is an NBA Finals featuring Bobby Portis and Jay Crowder on opposite sides.
Please.
That's what the world needs, okay? I'm being dead serious.
Toss that out, please.
Jay Crowder and Bobby Portis guarding each other, you know what I'm saying? You got the eyes and you got the fake salsa dancing and all this shit Jay Crowder does. Yo, that's what the streets need. We need Bobby Portis and Jay Crowder.
You know what the streets need? The streets need Chris Paul to get Bobby Portis tossed out of the game and suspended. That's what they need. Chris does his usual antics. That'd be dope.
I was listening to NBA radio somewhere, and someone said, "Can you imagine Portis? Waking up in the morning telling his wife with those eyes to make me some breakfast." You know what I'm
saying? Them crazy ass eyes. And look, Bobby Portis, he's obviously an NBA player. He's pretty good. But I'm not here to see Bobby Portis. Sorry, that ain't. That ain't it for me.
But Gerard, you had to know when you asked if anybody was excited about those.
Oh, well, we know that.
Brian was going to be excited.
Brian out here.
Listen, we are
he
real.
Wants violence. He wants violence. No
but
doubt.
You know what, though? We are real basketball heads. We all have our favorite role players. It so happens that there's
the violent ones. Bobby Portis.
There's a certain brand. There's a certain brand that mines come with. By the way,
don't call it a certain brand. Call it violence.
Yes.
Call it what it is. He likes violence.
Hold on. Okay. Look.
Fuck out of here.
The Latino in the room wants to refer this as tenacity. You know what I'm saying? Passion. Why can't we do what the whites do? You know what I'm saying? Why can't we do that? Why can't we label it a different way? That's first. And second of all, I will say this:
if you were doing what they did, you'd be oppressing people. That's no.
To your point, Dex. But at the end of the season, we'll do this on the Ain't Hard to Tell podcast. The All Brian teams updated. That will happen at some point after the NBA Finals.
The streets don't need that. They don't need it.
Listen, the All Brian team is hilarious because them dudes. I mean, it's funny because Brian does skills. So some of them have some skill, but dear God, they want to get you into an 80 to 75 rock fight basketball game. That's what them dudes want. What them dudes want.
So, Gerard, to bring it back to you, are you putting your money? Are you putting your money on the Bucks or the Hawks?
No. Well, here's the thing about the Hawks, right? We've been saying house money. Milwaukee had the opportunity to put the stranglehold on this series. 3-1, even if Giannis got hurt, it would have been a wrap, right? Because the odds of them with Trey hurt beating Milwaukee 3 out of the next 4, highly unlikely.
Going home too.
Exactly. Now, the Hawks are like, yo, you giving us more life? All right. And they know, look, you think the Hawks are scared of playing in Milwaukee? They already won game 1 there. They closed out Philly and the Knicks, which I think are much more hostile crowds than Milwaukee's. Let me put it like this. Milwaukee, if the Atlanta wins tonight, shit, wrap.
I could not agree with you more on that. And for that reason, it's a couple of reasons. Number one, I think the Hawks' confidence has to be high. They have put Lou Williams in the starting lineup. He was doing his thing, doing what he needed to do. Looked like they didn't miss a beat. They controlled that game for the most part before Giannis got hurt. You have to like that for the Hawks' confidence. Great points again, Gerard. They won game 1, all of their series on the road, right? They've closed out all of their series wins on the road. And you're 100% right. They did it in more hostile environments. And then here's the thing for me. If you look at this series and you look at the numbers, the Bucks, they've dominated in the paint. That's where they've been killing the Hawks, right? Part of the reason they dominate in the paint is the easy buckets that Giannis is able to get, particularly on those double screens where they run him in the back action and he goes up for the lobs and gets a lot of those finishes. Brook Lopez has been doing the same thing too. With no Giannis, do the Bucks dominate the same way in the paint? I mean, if you believe in Bobby Portis like Brian, maybe you think that'll happen. But we all know better. Bobby Portis ain't dominating nobody in the paint. Maybe elbows in the paint, maybe punches in the paint, but he ain't dominating in terms of scoring in the paint. And I don't think the Bucks are going to be able to do that. I think the Bucks are going to look even more suspect with Chris Middleton as the number one option. Murph, I agree with you. Everybody who's paid the max isn't a max player. Let's be clear about that. And this is the time, Gerard, this is the other point you make, and the point Brian's making too. They're going to need a lot of people. This is when the frauds get exposed. And tonight is, I think, where you get to see some of the fraudulent behavior come out to play. I hope Drew Holiday and Chris Middleton prove me wrong, but I ain't betting on them. Nope. Give me the Hawks here.
Wow.
Give me the Hawks. I will take the Hawks. Give me the money line on the Hawks. I'm going the Hawks. I'm putting the money, even if I don't even know if Trey's playing. You know why? Because I trust some of their dudes are going to show up. I don't know about Chris Middleton. I don't know about Drew Holiday. Maybe Bobby Portis will show up and throw a punch. I might have to bet on that. I feel like I feel like Brian's probably going to have some kind of kerfuffle in his bet and keep it on 100. We can bet on that for sure with Bobby Portis. But nah, give me the Hawks, man, because I just don't think the Bucks, in all seriousness, are going to be able to dominate inside the way they have the past couple of games. And I think their confidence might be a little shot, guys. I think it just might be a little bit shot. We'll see. Sounds like nobody's believing in the Bucks here. Nobody.
Nah, we out on that.
Damn, everybody's off the Bucks.
I mean, especially with Giannis's injury. If anything, you know, they were the favorite. You know, when Giannis was healthy to win, to get to the finals, probably win the finals if you have Giannis healthy, because he'd be looked at as the best player in that series. And now with him questionable, even the rest of the playoffs, really, I know, there's no structural damage, but that was an ugly hyperextension. Will he really be able to get back to 100% on that, in a short period of time is a big question. So, I mean, we already had concerns about the other guys. So with Giannis not there, I don't know how you stay confident in them.
No, we got the answer to that question, Murph. He will not be 100%, right? Playing NBA playoff basketball when you are injured does not get you healthy. It makes the injury worse. Rest is the only thing that makes it better. And unless they shut him down, he is not going to get healthy. It's going to be about managing the pain. And if let's say they advance, it's going to get worse, right? Like, that's just the reality of this. So yeah, I don't like where they sit with that injury for him. And again, even with when he was playing, like, none of us were like, yeah, super high and confident on them, right? We were like, think about it. Look, I am not one to be like, what Chuck and Kenny and Shaq say on TNT is like, because, they just be wilding out saying crazy stuff.
But they got some points.
But they do have points at times because they're former players. That point about, when the other team's best player is not there and you got a chance to go up 3-1, you come out and you're like, we are killing these dudes tonight. And the Bucks were like playing with their food, like, we all right. And it's like, nah, you ain't.
Well, let me just say this about Chuck. Before that game, he was guaranteeing that Milwaukee was going to win.
You see, there you go.
He switched it up real quick with that.
Yeah, I don't know why he took that bet. Brian, before we move on from this topic, how much are you confident that Bobby Portis will show up and have a big game tonight? Who has a big? Actually, this is a better question.
What's a big game?
What's a big game? Oh, that's a great question, Murphy.
Fine, 15 points.
Let's say this. Portis gives
more than 15. Come on.
15 is a big game.
A big game? He averaged 11 and 7 during the season. 15 is not a big game. A big game would be like 18, 20 or something.
Okay, fine. Portis gives you 18 plus points to go along with 12 plus rebounds. Whoa. And maybe he drops in 3 dimes in here. Is Bobby Portis? I wish there was a bet on this.
They might win.
You know what, Greg, find the prop bet. Find the Bobby Portis prop bet and stay around for keep it 100. I might have a decision to make. Find it. I'm dead serious. Find the Bobby Portis prop bets. Send them in the chat. We'll recircle.
I guarantee you, they know 18 points on
do they even make Bobby Portis prop bets?
I don't know. I will say they should, because he's actually one of their best role players and has been for the season. I told you, for me, he was a 6th man of the year candidate. So
I see a Bobby
Portis, and that may sound crazy, but like, honestly, Sixth man of the year this year, not a good race. Okay.
Well,
Yo, B, let me ask you something, B. Like, what is it about Bobby Portis that really? I mean, like, let's really break down. Like, why you really feeling this dude like that?
It's
like,
the eyes,
I always liked this game. I saw him in Arkansas with the Bulls, when he got traded to the Wizards or whatever. He was always like on these shitty teams where like all the shit around him was all fucked up, and he would always produce. With the Knicks, he produced.
And you like the fact that he punched Nikola Mirotic in the face that one time, right?
He likes his hands.
I mean, that helps. You know what I'm saying? But I liked him even before that. And I'm not even anti-Nikola Mirotic, but all I'm saying is, look, if you're the dude that punches somebody else in the face and they take your side and get the other guy out of here, I know who they fucking with. You know what I mean? Like, that's really all it is. Nikola Mirotic is not even in the NBA anymore, and he's good enough to be in the league.
The Bobby Portis points over under tonight is 14.5.
Ooh, Brian going with that over.
There you go, Brian. What
the odds? What are the odds?
They were both minus 115. I mean, that's like the even odds.
The even odds, yeah.
Even odds. Really? So, Brian, what are you doing? Come on.
Well, what's the point of taking that bet if it's just straight even?
No, I'm just telling you what the even odds are. What Vegas thinks he should get.
Yeah.
So then
Vegas is telling you they think he hovers around there.
Right. No, I got it.
So then you find a betting house and be like, oh, I'm gonna take Bobby Portis getting over 20. Then you might get plus.
They don't got points rebounds, so though they don't have him rebounding much these days because they keep him at the fucking.
No, they do. They have combinations. So his total points and assists they have at 15.5.
Assists.
Total points and rebounds 23.5.
23.5 points and rebounds.
Yeah.
Oh boy. He don't be rebounding like that in the playoffs because they have him at the 3-point line. See, that's another thing too. Like he's a guy. He's one of these dudes. No, but for real, like in the NBA, it's all about fit, and for 90% of players, like that's everything. Yeah, for probably 60-70% of those dudes, they're bouncing around not in the proper fit. Maybe not that high, but there's a large chunk of NBA players who just never find the right fit. I feel like a dude like him, I feel like to some degree Rondé Hollis-Jefferson is another role player that I really like. They just don't find these right fits on certain teams. And I feel like, if you get them in the right situation, there are a couple teams I could think of actually off the top of my head. If you get some of these guys in the right situation, like, they could produce. Like, for example, Gerard's boy, Jaren Jackson Jr., I like him in Memphis, but there was another team that had the second overall pick in that draft. We probably don't hear about this dude at all if he goes to Sacramento because of how the fit is there. You know what I mean?
Don't do that to my guy, man. Sacramento.
No, but I'm saying he went to a great spot, but like a lot of guys just don't, and it's hard because then people think that this dude is trash, whatever, and it's like, no, that's not the case. It's just these role guys, like you need a couple more things to break right than the stars do, I guess.
Are you taking the over or the under here?
Stay tuned for Keep It 100.
Okay, that's the tease sauce. I feel like he's ducking the question, but that's the tease. We'll call it the tease. Moving on to the next segment. The Suns are in the finals. We talked about how Pat Bev was mad and pushed Chris Paul down, acting like a herb. But Chris Paul's in the finals. Now, look, if you've been watching the show, you've been rocking with us. Gerard told y'all. He told you weeks ago.
Months ago, I told you.
Months ago. Yeah, we go months ago. Take that. When did you take him? Plus 800, Gerard?
Plus 1,200.
Plus 1,200, Gerard.
He must have known about the injuries. That's all. He must have known what was going to happen.
I mean, I can't confirm or deny that I might be having people who send me things on text message. I can't.
Wow. He knew knees were tender.
Who knew that? The odds for the Suns to win the finals, they are not as great as they were even 3 weeks ago, when I believe then it was plus 800. The best odds you can find for the Suns right now to win the whole thing, minus 189. That's
not even worth it. That's not like, don't even, that's like, no.
Yeah. It's like, like the point is you were late, right? Yeah. Like this is it. You were late. So we know it's too late to get in on the action if you really want to win some money on the Suns. But if you do think the Suns are still the best bet to win the championship, or you think they're the favorite to win the championship, does it even matter who comes out of the East, or are the Suns still the best bet to win it all? Or would you put your money on the Bucks and the Hawks? That's the question I got for the guys now. Gerard, I'll start with you, since you were in early on the Suns at plus 1,200, and things are looking great for you. But if you're Johnny come lately to this situation right now, and I don't even know why it's Johnny, but whatever. Your Johnny come lately to the situation.
Billy, whoever.
Yeah, whoever. Would you put your money on the Bucks or the Hawks? We all seem like we didn't believe in the Hawks, so maybe it's time to put some money. So we didn't believe in the Bucks, excuse me, not the Hawks. Maybe it's some time to put some money on the Hawks right now. Is that something you would do?
For sure. I mean, for me, I put money on the Hawks to hedge, right? Like, because I already got the Suns at +12, so it's like I'm sitting good, right? Now it's really about who I think coming out of the East, right, to give me that catbird. And with the Giannis injury, yes, Trey's also injured, but I don't love what I see out of Milwaukee right now. And your odds are better on the Hawks, right? They're +500, maybe +400.
As high as you can get is +600.
No, +6.
+6. Every place, all the other major betting houses have them at +550.
Okay, I mean to me that's a win. And then the other thing I'd look at too, if you're trying to figure out what you're going to do in terms of making money, I'd look at the futures bets, right? So the Suns, all right, you ain't going to win any money on the finals, and they have Chris and Book as the two favorites to win Finals MVP. It'll be hard for this to happen, but DeAndre Ayton +1,000, let's say he does something where he gets he's averaging 15, 18 boards and is killing, it's going to take the voters who vote for this award to be smart and not stupid, right? And be like, nah, just vote for the guy who scores the most points. It's like, okay, but this big dude, he matters, right? So that may be a flyer worth taking. And then if you really want to just be like, all right, how can I win some money? Because the Hawks players are also higher up on the list. You throw Middleton, he's another one +1,000 for Finals MVP.
Mm-hmm. Not a bad look there. Yeah, too late for the Hawks. No, Murph, I know you did not get in on the Hawks early. You did not jump all over that +1,200.
Suns, yeah.
The Suns, excuse me, Suns. We all feel bad about this. We didn't have the sources that were helping.
Yo, man, y'all ain't need this. I gave y'all a video. Y'all a video as to why the Suns were going to win, but y'all didn't want to listen to it. I mean, I don't know what to tell you.
Yeah, we got Nostradamus over here telling us how to bet. Maybe you should listen to Gerard. Murph, would you get in on betting on the Bucks or the Hawks to win now, knowing that the Suns is not worth a bet for them to win it the whole thing?
Yeah, no, I basically agree, exactly with what Gerard said. To me, the Hawks are the best bet all the way around in terms of, actually making any money. The Phoenix is the favorite to win the finals at this point, and rightfully so. So if you want to make some money, I think, if anything, the best looking long shot to me are the Hawks. Like you said, at +600. I don't trust Milwaukee, especially. We just went through it without Giannis. With even Giannis, you might not trust him. So with the way Trey has been playing, if he can get his ankle feeling okay, then you got to be, somewhat confident that he could do his thing, moving forward. So I would roll with, like you said, the Hawks +600, but also MVP Trey Young is +600 to win Finals MVP. So I think that's one to jump on too if you want some decent odds. Because if the Hawks get to the finals and Trey is close to 100%, and he can move around, they could play with Phoenix, okay, and maybe win the series. So, and if they win the series, who do you think is going to be MVP?
That's true. I'm seeing Trey even as high as +700 right now. And what did you say the odds you heard were for DeAndre Ayton, Gerard?
I thought +1,000, might be more than that.
I'm seeing more than that. I'm seeing as high as +2,200 right now.
I mean, I'm jumping all over that one. Then.
Yeah. I'm looking at all this on the Props Network player list that they've got here for it. So +2,200. Drew Holiday, if you happen to believe in him, he's at +10,000.
Yeah, no,
but
sure.
I don't think that I don't think that we do. Brian, you are a Bobby Portis believer. We know what you're gonna do with that.
No, I'm not gonna pick up the fucking Finals MVP.
No.
I'm not doing that.
Could you imagine? He probably got +10,000 odds. Damn.
No, he is actually at as high as +50,000 for Bobby Portis to win the Finals MVP.
Wow.
So
even he ain't betting on that.
That's a good one.
He is as high as +50,000. I'm actually mad Lou Will has odds that high, and I feel like he shouldn't be mentioned in the same breath as Bobby Portis. Or Bobby Portis should be mentioned in the same breath as him, but you know what I mean. Brian, since you are the Bobby Portis supporter, I feel like you might want to put some money on the Bucks to win the championship. Is that so?
I don't know about that. I'll say this much in terms of, like, I like the DeAndre Ayton odds because, I mean, it's entirely possible that he does become an MVP type of player. I just don't think they'll give it to him, even if he does, because, Chris Paul, Devin Booker, unless this dude averages like 30 and 15 every game, and even then, if Chris Paul like has another 41-point game, has a 38 and 10, like they're probably just going to give it to Chris Paul, whether it's justified or not. So I'm probably not going to jump on the DeAndre Ayton one. Though I'm not very confident that Milwaukee could win the championship. Those Chris Middleton odds are appealing. I will say that at plus 1,000, because you're thinking about
plus 1,600 as high in some places.
Plus 1,600, like that's really good. And do I think that, again, we just talked about his playoff inconsistencies and things of that nature, but it's not like Chris Middleton can't put an entire series together. He has done that before. He just doesn't do it a lot in his career. And, the playoffs are the playoffs. Like, there are a lot of guys who can't put together an entire series. Trae Young hasn't even quite done that yet. He's had moments in different games, obviously, but in every series he's struggled at least 2 or 3 times. Like, it happens. You know what I mean? It happens to the best players. It's not, people act like Michael Jordan's never had a bad playoff game. He's had several. So I think that, with Chris Middleton being the offensive creator, if Milwaukee were to get to the finals, like those odds, and they might drop a little bit if they actually do get to the finals, but it won't drop by much. It'll still be plus over 1,000 or 1,000 at least. Like, that's probably the one that I look at out of all of these. Is very interesting. And Trae Young, obviously, because I'm actually surprised that it's as high as plus 600 or 700. I feel like that should be coming down. I'm probably going to jump on that one, because if the Hawks win tonight, that's going to drop, because all of a sudden their win probability to win the series is going to go up, and therefore you're not going to get as much on your return. So the Middleton and Trae Young odds are interesting, though I still think that Phoenix is going to win this whole thing, which likely means a Chris Paul or Devin Booker Finals MVP.
I agree with that. And Gerard, I'm glad you brought up the point of if you obviously you're not going to get in on the Suns right now, but if you don't believe in betting on either the Hawks or the Bucks, I think a good thing to look at is the Finals MVP. See what kind of odds you can get there. I think Trae Young is a great selection there at high as plus 700, and then DeAndre Ayton. I mean, who knows with the way he's playing? Maybe he gets to the Finals and he gives Capella or Lopez or whoever, he's giving them work. But I think, if Trae Young gets, I mean, who knows, man? This whole season's been crazy. You need to bet on who's going to be the healthiest. That's what we all need to look and bet on. But if you want to get in some action early, I think Trae Young is a great bet, even at the plus 7. And I definitely think DeAndre Ayton at plus 2,200. Ooh, and look, Brian, you're right about that. Trae Young's number will go down if the Hawks win tonight. And also, that will also drop that DeAndre Ayton number as well, too. They're just waiting when they're already in, but that's going to drop as well, too. So if you want some of this action, you better get on. You better get on it now. Otherwise, you're gonna be sitting here like Gerard talking about, "I told you so." I told y'all, but it was 1,200. You should have been on this. I mean, he was right though. He was right. Could have won yourself some money. He was right. He was right. All right. Want to encourage everybody. You like what you're watching with us for NBA Picks and Props? Please subscribe to the Props Network YouTube channel to stay up to date on all the latest content from the Props Network. What will be going on with this show, NBA Picks and Props, as we're winding down this season in the playoffs. Unbelievably, we are almost at the end of the playoffs. Finals will start next week. Now, though the finals start next week, what's coming up is the time of year Murph is real excited about, because he gets to see all the players that he watched in college basketball, at least most of them, and they finally can profit off their name, image, and likeness, which is good, of course, too. But they will get drafted later this month, 28 days away. We are from the NBA draft. And for months, Cade Cunningham has been the odds-on favorite to be the number 1 pick in this year's NBA draft. So, got to ask the guys, do you like the odds of Cade being number 1? Or would you put some dollars on some other players? Maybe a Jalen Green, Evan Mobley, Jalen Suggs. We don't know what Detroit's going to do with that number 1 pick. Would you put some money on either of these guys going number 1? Brian, I'm going to start with you. Who are you putting your money on to be the number 1 pick in this year's draft?
I mean, you're not going to get a lot back for Cade Cunningham because he's the perennial favorite, but I have a hard time not seeing him go number 1 at this point, because it's just, becoming one of those drafts where who's going to be the top overall pick. I have questions as to whether or not I would pick him number 1, because there are a couple guys after him, Evan Mobley in particular, who I'm looking at, and I'm like, oh, he might be the best player coming from this draft class when we look at this, many years from now. So it's probably going to be Cade Cunningham. So that's going to be a stay away from me. I might take a chance and just roll the dice on an Evan Mobley because I can see where like Detroit sort of talks themselves into it, though I think they're going to get Cade Cunningham. But, after that, I mean, there's a lot of teams that can use like any one of these dudes, but we'll see. In terms of the number one overall pick, I think that we know who that's going to be at least at this moment. Lord knows what could happen between now and the draft. So
odds for our viewers out there. Evan Mobley, who Brian mentioned, plus 1,600. You can get him as high as that. Jalen Green also the same. Gerard, what about you? Is it worth taking a shot on somebody else, or is this Cade Cunningham going to Detroit?
I mean, the odds for Cunningham are so overwhelming. He's minus 5,000, right? Like, so I mean, that's just
minus 10,000 actually.
Is it? I mean, that's just so that's telling you that. I mean, barring Detroit just wilding, or as Brian said, something just crazy happens like before the draft. We don't know. We got what, a month until the draft? Like, who knows what could happen between now and then, right? So, I would throw a flyer on maybe Mobley, as Brian said, or Green. So I like Suggs a lot, but I just think teams will look at him and be like, I'm not sold on the frame. He's a little slight. Like, I think that might scare guys away from the top. But Mobley being a big from SC, was he plus 1,800? I'm seeing on BetMGM. Like, I'm not putting a lot of money on it, but I'll throw a couple dollars on that because the odds are really nice for you there.
Yeah, why not throw a couple dollars in here? Now we get to our college basketball guru here on the panel. Murph, you would know better. Is Cade Cunningham? I mean, Cade Cunningham, the odds tell you that he's a lock to be at number one. But if you had to bet on somebody else, maybe to jump up, and Gerard brings up a good point, Brian does as well too. You don't know what could happen. There could be a trade. Detroit could trade that pick. Things don't go as planned. Any other players that you could see either being taken number one or moving up to another pick? Because there are odds on the second pick, the third pick. There are odds on all this stuff, of course. Any other players you can see moving up, or would you take somebody else number one?
I mean, who I would take, I agree with the odds. I think Cade Cunningham is probably the best player. He's the safest player too. In Detroit, the situation they're in, if they're going to stay in that spot, they're probably not going to gamble too much. They don't want to come away looking like, what was it, the Carmelo draft?
Darko.
No.
They drafted Darko. Okay, so they probably go safe this time. But I agree with Gerard and Brian in terms of the only other guy. And I could see it getting a little closer, even odds wise, as we move closer to the draft, is Mobley, because he's a big, so much potential, only scratched it so far at USC. Looks like a real coachable guy. He can improve on both ends of the floor and was already pretty dominant defensively. So I could see his stock rising as we move forward in this. So that's a guy, and like you said, at plus 1,800, 1,600, whatever, it's worth putting a few bucks on him just in case, his stock picks up, a ridiculous amount of steam, which I think is possible. We always know the NBA really hasn't changed in terms of how they draft, in terms of bigs. Like, size matters in the NBA, even when the style of play would tell you different. But that doesn't really change how people draft. You can look at the DeAndre Ayton draft. That would, he was the big man with skills. They drafted him over Luka, over Trey, over a bunch of guys. So I think Mobley's the guy you want to look at, odds wise, to maybe gamble and make yourself a little money.
Yeah, I think he'd be the safest bet there. He's probably, you don't see him dropping any further than 2. There
are rumors that people like Green, Houston has the second pick, right?
Yep.
Yeah, so Houston, you know how Houston is. I can see them going after the flash, go after the flashy guy who can score. Green is like a big time scorer that people predict might lead the league in scoring at some point in his career. Offensive machine, ridiculous athlete, two guard type prototype. So I could see Houston going that way and Mobley maybe dropping to 3. So, but I could also, it's more of a chance. I think he drops to 3 than moves up to 1. But I think either is possible.
It's gonna be interesting. I don't know how people can bet on the draft. There's just too much going on, too much movement that could possibly happen. I don't have much to say other than it's a no for me, dog. I'm not.
You ain't wasting no money.
I do have a draft question though. Like, I would love to know what the odds are on teams potentially trading into that number 1 spot, and to see where Oklahoma City is. Because look, if I have all these picks, like, why would I just wait until 4 or 5 or whatever their pick is? Like,
they're picking at 6, which is like
6, right? You know what I mean? You're talking about Jonathan Kuminga, Scotty Barnes, and that's cool.
Well, Scotty Barnes is very good, by the way.
I love Scotty Barnes.
And Kuminga was somebody who they were talking about as the number 1 overall pick before this past season. Kind of like what RJ Barrett previously, although RJ had a better stock now than he did, and is probably a better player, to be honest with you. But like, Oklahoma City, I don't know what's it going to take, but they have whatever it takes to move up in that draft. And they could trade up for that number 1 overall pick. I'd be hesitant to give it up if I'm Detroit, but you could get like a monster haul in terms of picks, and these GMs all care about picks and value picks. And if I'm Oklahoma City, it's like, yo, I'm going to flip Kemba Walker anyway. I have Shai Gilgeous right now. Why not try to get into Cade Cunningham, Evan Mobley picture if you want to just get to number 2 at least, if not number 1 entirely? But I would like to see if Oklahoma City, wants to do that.
Well, here's what I say to that, Brian. Like, I agree with you, but one of the things that we do all the time is like, oh, this is a 3-player draft. This is a 4. We have no idea. Like, if teams can get good with player development, you can see, oh, look at this guy got picked 13. He's pretty good. Kevin Huerter was a 12 or 13 pick. Like, and he is starring in the conference finals and helping a team in the playoffs as a 3rd-year player. Like, you never know who can be good if you give yourself an opportunity to develop. The problem is 25 of these 30 franchises are shitty at player development, right? So we gotta go for the sure thing. But it's like, yo, these dudes can play if you give them an opportunity. Huerter was 19th in round 1.
And to your point, we've seen it with Donovan Mitchell in the playoffs in recent years. We saw it with Bam last year, who was not late, but mid first round pick.
Devin
Booker now this year. Like, we're seeing it all the time. But I'm only saying, because I wouldn't do it necessarily if I do trust my player development like that. But I would do it if I really do think Cade Cunningham is so much better than everyone else, which some teams reportedly might. And if Oklahoma City is one of those teams that is really high on Cade Cunningham, then you have enough to go get him, and it won't even hurt you that badly because you have so many other picks anyway.
Mm-hmm. Right. And I think there really is it seems to be a strong, really strong top 6 guys that look like can't misses. 3 of them I saw a lot of in school. Green and Kuminga I only saw a little bit in the G League, and you're going off of athletic ability with those guys a lot. So if you include those 2, which most scouts are high on, you get Scotty Barnes at 6. I mean, this is a 6. He's like a 6'8". He might even be 6'9" kid who's really Leonard Hamilton ran him as a point guard, and he's an old school coach. He doesn't usually stick, a tall dude at point guard, and the kid can do almost everything, and he's like poised, and obviously he's only scratching the surface like that. You get that dude at 6. I think
that's a win.
Yeah, that's a win.
Florida State coaches pros, Murph. Look at Terrence Mann. Like, yo, homie is like, yeah, the Clippers got knocked out, but would they have even gotten this far if Terrence Mann wasn't doing his thing?
No, he's a player. Jonathan Isaac before he got hurt too.
Yeah, they got pros, man, who know how to play.
Good mention there.
Patrick Williams was solid this year.
Patrick Williams, yep. I do have some breaking news on the show. It's just been reported that Trae Young will be out for Game 5.
Wow.
So he will not play in Game 5. Sorry, this was reported by Woj with Malika Andrews as well. Also, news that Lloyd Pierce will be finalizing a deal to be Rick Carlisle's top assistant in Indiana. Now that we've heard this Trae Young news, does that change anybody's feelings about how they would bet on tonight's game, or is it still Team Atlanta?
I mean, it still doesn't make me the Bucks had their chance last game to do what they had to do when they were full complement, when they knew Trey wasn't playing, and they still did what they did. So look, it's unfortunate because we've seen them do it in spurts, but the Bucks still at this stage, right? And I think most of you guys will agree with me. They're still a show me, improve me team, right? We're still like, nah, we don't believe you. And it's like, how are we still having this we don't believe you conversation with Milwaukee? Like at this stage.
Well, I think a lot of it has to do with the fact that their best player hasn't really developed his game much more to take them to different heights. I think that has a lot to do with it and why we still don't believe in them in that way. Or to Murph's point, their secondary stars just aren't that good, right? Like we might think that they're a lot better than what they are based on the fact that they're max players. It just, they just might not be that good. And I think that's fine.
Yeah, and they're better than they were last year. I mean, Drew Holiday, I'm kind of killing him, but I mean, he's way better than Bledsoe. So they did improve the team. But I've said all along, I don't put too much blame on Giannis. There are things you don't want him doing that he can't do, and really his free throw shooting has really declined. Like it's worse than it's ever been this year. So that's made him even. You can really count on him less, especially at the end of games. But he's very consistent with what he gives you every day. Like he's not like Middleton and Drew Holiday. I mean, you're getting like 30 plus and 10 plus rebounds every game. You can book. You know what I'm saying? So he's going to give you what he has. But now you're not going to get that. Man, for this game, I think it does change it for me. I do kind of expect Middleton to have a big game and for them to squeak out a victory at home. But giving Trey another day off, if he's ready to go game 6 and 7, you still got to like Atlanta to me.
So in terms of the line has moved. It is now -2.5. So just, half point, slight movement there. Not much. The Bucks are still favored with Young being out. So, Vegas believes in the Bucks. We don't. I don't know. I don't know if there's more to say other than that. Like we don't. But no, Murph, I agree with your point, right? Like Giannis is steady in what he does and brings, and it's not for lack of effort. He's not out there Ben Simmons in it and, not shooting or something in that realm. He brings the effort. He brings production consistently. Maybe you like more versatility in his offensive game, but you can't deny that he's brings production consistently, and it'll absolutely be missed. Like I said earlier, I think it'll be missed, especially their presence on the inside. So, we'll see. Should be entertaining. If the Bucks lose, woo.
You gotta be diehard basketball fans like us to watch this one. I'm telling you right now.
or you gotta be more diehard to bet on it, right? You're like,
right.
No stars.
You were degenerate. You were degenerate.
Bettors than there are.
I would probably agree with that. That's fair. That's fair for sure. All right, our last segment of the night, Keep It 100, where we get to decide. We all have $100. How we are going to spend it in terms of betting. It could be on the games tonight, could be on future bets, could be on the draft, could be on the finals, whatever you want to do. Probably violence for Brian, as we know, and we will find out if Brian is going to go with that prop. What was it, 23.5 total points of rebounds, Murph, for the over-under for Bobby Portis? All right, we'll find out for Brian. We look, come on, folks. Ain't no suspense in this. We all know he's going with the over. We're not going to start with him. We'll start with Gerard. Gerard, how are you spending your $100 tonight?
Dex, you inspired me. I'm going to go 25 on the Hawks money line tonight. Why not? Whatever. You know why? I'm feeling so good about my Suns plus 1,200 from months ago. I'm like, I'm living high on the hog right now, so I'm good, right?
Pat yourself on the back, bro. Pat yourself on the back.
Let me get that plus that money line on the Hawks tonight, and I'm going to go all futures now. I already got the Suns, so I'm like, let's see if the Hawks can win me some money. So the hedge, I'm gonna go Hawks to win the championship. What are they, +6? We saw +7, somewhere in that range.
+6.
Okay, I'll take that. I'm gonna go with a flyer on Ayton to win Finals MVP because why the hell not? And then going back to Euro Cup, even though my parlay of Portugal and the Suns did not, that would have been. You know what the odds were? It was plus 6,600. That would have been so nice. Damn it, Portugal. But I'm gonna go Belgium at plus 700 to win the whole tournament.
That's a solid bet. You know what? Now you make me want to check the odds on England. I'm going to do that before
plus two, I think.
Oh, really?
Yeah. England's plus 200, Spain's plus 300. Yeah, I know. It's kind of like,
I'm surprised.
I know.
I'm
Yeah.
Okay, that's interesting. All right. To the people who do not watch soccer, Murph and Brian. Murph, how are you spending your $100 tonight?
Man, I'm gonna I'll go $30 on the under today for tonight's game, Milwaukee Atlanta. I'll go under 215. They've been under pretty much all series, and now without each team's best player, I think they'll try to grind it out defensively, scratch and claw, and see what they can do to win the game that way from both sides. I think Atlanta played great defense last game, so. And then I'll go futures, and I'll do 30. I'm going to go all in on Atlanta for these futures, just because the way they look right now. So I'm going to go 35 on Atlanta to win it all. Which, what is it, plus 600?
Mm-hmm.
And again 35. And if I'm going to do that, I'm going to put another 35 on Trae Young to win Finals MVP.
Mm-hmm. Smart.
That ain't bad. Smart bets. All in on Atlanta. All right, come on, Brian.
That sounds crazy, but
I mean, you could have crazy Bobby Portis eyes, and it could be a lot different. Brian, are you all in on Bobby Portis here?
Yeah, to the commenter, yeah, Chris Middleton over 29.
Oh yeah, for sure.
Because he fucking has to.
Because he got to.
Because he has to. That's really it. I ain't putting 100 on that though. I'll put 100 that boot right as a bot. I'll do that. Now with my other 100. I'm going to go Trae Young Finals MVP. We talked about that earlier. I put 20 on that, plus 700. And another 10 on Chris Middleton Finals MVP, plus 1,600, just in case, to cover my ass a little bit. Though I don't think either team is going to win the finals. I think it's entirely possible because, again, I don't trust really any of these teams. $20 on the Bobby Portis over-under that we discussed earlier. 14.5 points, 14 and a half points. We're going over, and we're going over on the 23.5 also with $10 there. All right, so I got a bunch of money left. I have $40 left. 39 is going to the Chicago Sky. Whoa, a futures bet winning the WNBA championship.
Shouts to Candace Parker.
Candace Parker made her 6th All-Star game. This team is number 1 overall in defensive rating. Second in points per game allowed, and they're 9-1 when Candace Parker is active. They just lost their first game with her like a few days ago, and they're beating good teams. So I'm going to take that bet. There are a few teams ahead of them, namely the Las Vegas Aces, because Liz Cambage is going crazy again, Asia Wilson, etc.
Asia Wilson. Mm-hmm.
But listen, Chicago Sky, I think they can do it. Diamond DeShields, Candace Parker. We'll see what happens. And my $1 bet, the scuffle. Bobby Portis, Danilo Gallinari. It's got to happen.
Danilo Gallinari.
It's got to happen. Because Danilo Gallinari, if I'm the Milwaukee Bucks, I've been watching this dude and I've been pissed the entire series. You know what I'm saying? Like, this dude has so much confidence even when he airballs, when he misses or whatever. And I like Danilo Gallinari a lot. He might make the All-Brian team later this year. We'll see. I got 3 of them. I like Danilo Gallinari a lot because he just has a lot of moxie, as the white people say, right?
Yes, moxie is.
So Bobby Portis, Danilo Gallinari, they're going to get entangled and they're going to have a little scuffle, and we're going to get double technicals, and it's going to be great. Hopefully, we have a great game because the two reasons why most casual observers watch will not be playing.
They also almost got no scuffle with Middleton last game. Remember when they had that little hard foul in the paint there? So. Gallo,
he got to send Bobby now. That's
Gallo, he might be about that life. Gallo, you don't know them. He might be.
She's gonna show him how it is.
Gallo credit because he could barely walk, but he's still
still giving people buckets until Bobby Portis gives him a punch in the face. All right. I will put 25. I said I'm all in on the Hawks. I'm glad I inspired Gerard. I wish he had inspired me to take the 1,200 on the Suns.
I mean, I did. I was trying to tell y'all, but y'all didn't want to hear it.
Yeah. All right. Okay. 25 on the Hawks to win tonight. I like that. I'm also going to do a futures bet with the Finals MVP. Yeah, I probably don't think the Hawks are going to do it or the Bucks if they face the Suns. But, why not? I'm going to throw $25 on one of my favorite nicknames in the NBA right now. 25 on Red Velvet. Right now, he is plus 2,500 to win Finals MVP.
Wow.
And let me give a little explanation to this, right?
Only 2,500
or 25,000. He would be 25,000.
Sorry, 25,000.
I was gonna say 2,500 is low.
Yeah, plus 25,000 for Red Velvet. And here's the thing: if the Hawks get there, which Gerard and I think is possible, despite the injuries, somebody's got to score, right?
Somebody got to.
Who knows? Maybe just believe in the Hawks. They continue to get hot. Red Velvet is giving buckets. You know what I mean? He believes. He wears the MLK jersey. He's got a dream. He's got it going on.
God.
It's great. You know what I'm saying? Like, you just this is what MLK wanted. He wanted to see Red Velvet get buckets.
No way. No.
Yo, he said
listen.
content of their character, not the color of their skin, right?
That's
Come
it.
on, man.
That's the color.
This is what MLK wanted. He wanted Red Velvet to get buckets. You have to clip that.
He wanted that, man.
Holy
for real.
shit. That is real worthy.
I mean, something tells me he probably just wanted Red Velvet, but whatever. That's
I mean, Red Velvet's tremendous cake flavor.
Tremendous cake. Tremendous cake. All right, 25 on that, 25 on Red Velvet. I also feel like you got to do this. You got to throw some money on the Hawks with that plus 600 to win the NBA Finals. Why not in terms of a future bet? And you know what, Gerard, I'm going to.
Would you like Euros?
I wish England's odds were a little bit better.
I know.
I thought they would be. And you know I am not a fan. I am not a fan of the way Spain plays at all whatsoever. I am not a fan of the way they play.
Tiki-taka is not my jam.
And Brian, I know you don't get down with the soccer, and Murph, I know you don't really either.
I do casually.
But I feel like neither of you would be a fan of this.
You don't like how Spain plays. Y'all don't like that.
Because I feel like if people played in basketball the way Spain played, Bobby Portis would be punching all of them in the face. Like, that would definitely happen. Like, it definitely would happen, right? So but here's the thing. I think Spain is so annoying that they're going to annoy their way to win. Again, I'm going to throw, was it plus 300 for Spain?
Plus 300 on Spain, yep.
Yeah, I'll throw 25 on Spain right now. I don't like it, but let's do it. And, Gerard's not going to admit this. He was right about the Phoenix Suns, but he's completely wrong about his boy CR7 delivering.
First of all, he's still leading. He's still leading in goals, and he already got knocked out. Still got the most goals in the tournament. Come on,
that's crazy.
Come on.
Well, I was gonna say, is it Mbappe the one that everybody's just been killing because he didn't come?
It was just the thing about Mbappe.
I saw the highlights,
man. It's like, dog, like a penalty kick just kills you, and he only had 3 assists in the whole tourney, so. People gonna get on the French papers already kind of got on him heavy. Like it was a little underwhelming tournament for my man.
It was a little underwhelming, but those are my picks. I was gonna try to give a pick on how the Knicks are probably gonna mess their draft up again, but I just said
they didn't mess it up last year.
They did not.
Yo, Merv, you were like Rebay at the wire, man. The Knicks done fucked up their draft.
That's one of my favorite quotes in the show. You know why? Because I experienced them fucking up their draft over and over again. So I knew. Murph, you're not in your head. You knew what was up. You knew what was up.
I want to put a bonus set of money. I don't know how much yet on NBA 2K cover because that's going to get announced who knows when. Because usually it's around this time, though it's probably later because the season is still going on. But I'm looking at Devin Booker like, dog, it's probably gonna be you. It's probably gonna be you because they tend to skew younger. Obviously, I could see a Chris Paul sort of legacy thing because he was a 2K8 cover athlete, and I told you that's probably the greatest cover in terms of prophecy ever because he almost won MVP that year. That was before Chris. That was the year he became Chris Paul, and they put him on the cover before that. But I'm looking at Devin Booker now because last year was Zion, the PS5 version, Dame Lillard, the PS4 version, and Kobe Bryant was the legend legacy version. Hopefully the cover arts are better for those because they were terrible last year. But Devin Booker is probably the guy that I'm looking at now, even before Jokic. Like,
Trae Young
in there. Trae Young is the other one. Devin Booker, Trae Young is the other one.
Yeah, I thought y'all was gonna rock with me and be like, Red Velvet be on the cover of
What if they put Red Velvet on the cover in the MLK jersey though?
Oh, I'm here for that.
It'll be the oddest video game cover for a sport since Peyton Hillis and fucking Madden 12 or whatever that was.
That was
a Cleveland Browns running back on the cover of a video game. No one even knew who that was. Not no one, but a lot of people didn't even know who that was.
Brian, Brian, you're the only person on the show that will absolutely bet on a video game. Only person on the show.
On the cover. Oh yeah, absolutely. Because it's like you understand Trae Young, Devin Booker, they fit that sort of mold. Like
I think those are good bets.
You know, Zion last year was too soon, I felt like, but he got that because he had signed a deal with 2K.
What about Donovan Mitchell, or does nobody care about Jazz players? In
Utah.
That would be ironic as hell. I don't think that, man. I don't know. And look, I don't know. Like in 2K17, they had there was like a heavy Olympic thing. Like Paul George was on the cover that year.
Yes.
He had the Pacer cover. They had the Team USA thing, and they had, I don't remember what the other thing was. It might have been him in
aren't we kind of missing an obvious person for the cover guys? And I thought Gerard would be all over this because, you know, this guy's changing his jersey number. And it's a nice little way to market. LeBron on the cover with number 6.
Damn propaganda.
It's not gonna be LeBron.
Come on,
man. You don't think so? See, I could see them put. I would like personally for them to go the Jokic route even, because like, dog, who deserves it more? You know, but I just don't. I don't think he's seen as somebody who would be on the cover of a video game. Even though I would like that. Like if it were up to me, Jokic probably gets my first call.
Here's something interesting as we talk about the video game covers and basically, right, Brian, you're talking about the changing of the league, right? The changing of the guard and all these new guys coming in. How much longer are the top all NBA teams going to be with names like LeBron, Steph, KD, Harden, and all these dudes, right? Like, because if Jokic, Embiid, Book, and like Trae and all these and Donovan and like, man, it's gonna be about that time for them old dudes to kind of. I mean, look, and they ain't gonna give their throne up easy, right? Because you know how it is, you know how them dudes are. But you can't fight youth, right? And they got young legs. They coming, right? Like they coming.
Yeah, I mean, look, this year there has been a little bit of that, but like, you know, injuries are just going to be part of the game all the time. But this year, especially, like they've been a lot part of the game. Like we'll see, because I think that shapes it out too, right? Because then, especially if it's older dudes getting injured, which typically happens, it opens up the opportunity for teams like the Atlanta Hawks to break through, because everyone's healthy. We can admit the Atlanta Hawks are not having this exact same run. And this has been an odd year in terms of injuries. That's not to say they're not deserving, though, but it's to say, like, look at what we've seen now that they've put it together. They'll come back with this confidence next year, and we'll see how they do if teams are healthier, though. I have guesses about that, because, like, next year is going to start on time, so it's going to be an arguably more grueling season, though maybe not as much COVID, but we'll see. After the Olympics, too. So
think about this, right? Who are the great young teams of the past that were like, they're going to go to 15 finals? The Orlando Magic, Oklahoma City Thunder.
Mm-hmm. Boston Celtics also.
Right? Boston. What, right? Nothing. I mean, they Orlando went, Oklahoma City went once. Like, Boston hasn't been. And because we thought, the youth, nothing is promised and guaranteed to you. Just because Atlanta's killing right now and they're young, they should be all on pace next year. But who knows what the hell happens next year? So they got to go all in now.
Yeah, when they all perform like that, you can't keep them all.
Right.
That's the other thing.
Make decisions. Atlanta's not healthy now. Imagine they had DeAndre Hunter. Imagine Bogdanovich was 100%.
Right.
Trey's not even 100%.
Trey all of a sudden is not healthy. So, I mean, and then when you come back with all those guys and all those guys now, Huerter. Now Huerter feels like he's I'm big time. You know what I'm saying? I'm producing the playoffs. There's not even room for all those guys. Look at Reddish comes back, and I was going to ask you guys about Reddish. What kind of role you think he plays the rest of this series?
Big one now, I think. A big one.
Fan game he had last game, or can he really contribute? And you're gonna have all these young guys coming back next year. You're gonna have to get rid of somebody. Collins, I didn't even mention Collins.
Shit,
right?
He's got his deal coming up. He's a free agent.
Yeah. Get his deal. Brian, I know you saw what I just put in the chat. I want you guys to look at what I just found. I looked up the odds. I looked up the odds for who could be the most likely to get on the cover. And the first picture.
That's what I'm saying. The first. You see Ben Simmons first?
Ben Simmons was the first picture that came up for highest odds to be on the cover of NBA 2K22.
That has to be a joke.
Like that's what we're doing now. We're
going to get an old article.
Ben, as we know, who has declined to play for Australia because he's going to work on skills development this summer.
Yeah,
Thank you, Greg.
homie. What were you doing the last 4 summers, homie?
I mean, and look, playing with Australia might actually help him, but whatever. Look, I think
Luka Doncic was also up there too. I think it's a strong play to be on the cover.
I think that would make a lot of sense too. But look, I mean, to your point about like the young teams, like we do this all the time. We always think that the young teams are just going to have this large shelf life.
Right.
And while Oklahoma City was good for a while,
yeah.
while Boston's been pretty good for a while, like there are teams who like they'll be bad for a year. Like I remember 2 years ago, the Miami Heat's franchise centerpiece was Hassan Whiteside, and now they've since gone to an NBA Finals and just totally flipped it. The Brooklyn Nets a couple years ago, they were building around D'Angelo Russell and Karis LeVert. Now they have Kevin Durant, James Harden. Like the shit just happens like that. And Boston was up here. They had all them dudes, and now they just traded Kemba Walker for Al Horford. So like this shit happens very fast. Like Atlanta could be great this year. Then next year it's like, God forbid, you don't want this to happen. John Collins gets a major injury, and then all of a sudden you have to do this reshuffling. By the way,
they don't resign him because
or they don't resign him because I was going to say like he will be on a new contract by then, regardless of where he is. Trae Young's max is gonna have to they're gonna have to sign him this summer, and then that's gonna kick in after next year. Like this stuff is not just Gerard uses this term all the time. Like this isn't just linear. Right.
Yeah.
That goes with player development, but that also goes with team development. And it probably goes more with team development. We just saw it this year. Like there were teams that went very far last year. None of them made it past the second round this year, and 3 of them lost in the first round. Now, a large part of that to me for all 4 of them is fatigue, injuries, and things of that nature.
No doubt.
But still, like this is the kind of thing that could happen. And then next year, whoever plays deep into the playoffs this year, like I don't feel great about the Atlanta Hawks next year because the East is going to be healthier theoretically, the good teams, and they're going to have a shorter turnaround into next season. So
there's no guarantee that everybody's like, all right, wait till LeBron. Like, LeBron's gonna be what 37 to start next season. I don't, he's gonna be back to like we don't know that.
At some point, Father Time's gonna beat him.
First of all, people should stop saying that about LeBron. Okay, they could have stopped 2 years ago saying that. Like he's not gonna go back and be 28, 29, 30. Like he is a different player even now. He's not as athletic as he was. He's not the most athletic dude on the court. He's not. He can't just go down the lane and dunk on everybody anymore. That's a wrap. So it's going to come down to the people around him. AD. That's who's going to come down to.
He stay hurt.
Yeah, I don't look. In terms of championship windows, like
that shit might be shut.
The Lakers got theirs, and I feel like this is probably it.
I think so. They got their one. They got their one.
We never know how long these runs are for these teams in the league. A lot of people like to say 5 years. You're right, and you're right, Brian. We got to stop with that. And sometimes, you know what it is? It's year to year, or it's every 2 years.
Your window to year.
And if your front office is good and stable and knows what the fuck they're doing, because when you think about it, like a lot, like we've seen a lot of the same people at the top, like Greg Popovich, Pat Riley, et cetera, wherever they go, wherever they are. Like you're seeing the same, like Sam Presti was there for a while. You're seeing sort of the same people that are up there for a while. There's a reason that happens. Like a lot of the places that stay up the top of their sport, they have stability in their front offices and people who know what they're doing.
For sure.
We shall see. All right, it's good discussion. This is going to shape a lot of how we bet on 2K covers, how you bet on MVPs for next year.
MVP odds next year.
Yeah, there's so much that's
going to be a heavy favorite, but
he will. A lot of that stuff is on narrative from the previous season or what may happen in the offseason, but a lot of things could change. Injuries, a lot of things can change between now and then. So who knows? You know what I mean? You never know. All right, that's it for this edition of NBA Picks and Props. We will be back with you next week talking about the last 2 teams left that you could bet on, who you might still want to pick for Finals MVP, why you should probably be sad that you didn't listen to Gerard. All that we'll be talking about next week. So for my man Gerard Hector, Brian Fonseca, and Jamal Murphy, until next time, y'all, next Thursday at 6 p.m. Eastern. Peace.